Why is the prison push-up a pseudo push-up and not truly effective for strength and health? Notice I didn't say size. I said strength and health. Let's get into it. And firstly, if you cannot make it to the end of this video to learn all of these things before you comment something, I'm just going to delete your comment and block you. I don't respect men who cannot finish before they start yapping, bro. If you can't finish, don't start. Now let's teach you guys the truth about these pseudo prison push-ups. Firstly, before I get into all of the other sciences, let's talk about the size difference, because that'll be the first thing guys will say. Well, guys in prison, they look bigger doing those than guys who do the full range, blah, 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 blah. Let's help you out. Firstly, and I was in prison for 5.5 years for reference, so I actually know probably more about this than you commenting right now. Anyway, when you're locked up, the stuff that they feed us is extremely high in carbs and sodium, and it builds a lot of intracellular water. You gain a lot of that. And that's where that big puffiness comes from. That's one factor. The second factor is the style of lifting. Everybody in there is lifting to get a pump because it makes them look bigger, and it's kind of an ego thing. You want to look bigger and more imposing in prison. So everything everybody does for lifting is all around getting a massive pump, because they equate that massive pump with intimidation and also with size and strength, right? But that massive pump is mainly sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. All right, here's the thing. You have sarcoplasmic hypertrophy and then you have myofibrillar hypertrophy. Now, yes, there is definitely a nexus between the two, obviously. All right. If you're lifting, you're building both no matter what, but you can mainly focus on one or the other. The best example for you guys are power lifters versus bodybuilders. The reason a power lifter and a bodybuilder can have the same body fat, can weigh the same, but the power lifter is stronger and the bodybuilder is bigger is mainly because the power lifter is focusing on myofibrillar hypertrophy and the bodybuilder is focusing on sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. All of that sarcoplasm makes his muscles look really big, round, and puffy. All of that myofibrillar hypertrophy makes the power lifter dense. That's why he looks dense. That's why his muscle is really tight and strong. And like sometimes you'll feel like if you get like a big puffy chest or puffy back from doing all that stuff, it doesn't feel like tight. It just feels big, right? But a power lifter, his muscle feels really dense. That's the reason, all right? That's the reason. So the guys in prison, it's sarcoplasm. It's sarcoplasmic hypertrophy that they're mainly focusing on, and the horrible diet that puts on all of this intracellular water, all right? And I'm not talking about water in the muscle either. All right. That's a big difference. This is also why there's so many health problems that come from the prison diet. The more you know. Anyway, continuing on, the stretch shortening cycle. When a guy does a prison push-up and he comes down to the bottom and bounces up, he's utilizing a stretch reflex. The stretch reflex is best described when you watch a guy do a heavy squat or when you see yourself do a heavy squat. You ever notice you put on a lot of weight, you do that heavy squat, and if you kind of bounce down, you do it really fast or just one smooth motion, then when you hit that bottom, there's kind of a little bit of a bounce before you stand back up. That little bit of a bounce is your tendons helping your muscles, protecting your joints and your muscles by creating a reflective pattern that pulls the muscles back. All right. They stretch and your body goes up and pulls it right back. And that's where that bounce comes from. This is why when you do a pause squat, it's harder. This is why when you do a break set, it's harder because you eliminate that stretch reflex. This is also why when you take someone who has a high max on a prison push-up and you make them do a full ROM, they can only do maybe half of that. The main reason is because you eliminate the stretch shortening cycle. You eliminate the stretch reflex at the bottom of the movement. And that's what maintains tension on the muscle, you guys. Tension on the muscle isn't based on the range you are. It's based on mechanical tension. And when you utilize that stretch reflex for just a short second, you take away from that mechanical tension. But when you pause or you move slow, there's a moment in time, because the stretch reflex, it builds up and then it dissipates. When it builds up and you pause or move slow, it slowly dissipates. And the more it dissipates, the more tension is remaining on the muscle and the harder the movement becomes. Now you understand the difference between a pseudo prison push-up and an actual push-up. Now, if you just want a big chest, the prison push-up's perfect. It's going to give you a big old puffy chest. But if you want a strong chest, if you want a healthy body, and you want dense muscle that stays over time, even when you take some time off, you want to be focusing on your strength. And here's the last thing I'll say. Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, it kind of wears off a little bit. You ever see a bodybuilder take a month or 2 months off and he does get smaller? If you build a lot of dense muscle, it's kind of hard for that shit to go. You maintain strength longer than you maintain size. This is also why powerlifters, even after time off, can come back and hit a crazy max, but a bodybuilder has to work himself back up. Now you understand the difference. Don't hit me with none more of that pseudo shit. Come on, y'all.